Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, Dave. Howard from Marin County. I have a question for you. Now that the Browns are going to be picking third, and since I certainly don't trust the people that we have right now, like our general manager and our talent evaluators, to make the right picks, who would you choose to become the person who could assess talent and who could run the draft? Because it certainly shouldn't be Barry, because he's been bad. And the other thing would be is Miles is like Jim Brown for all of us old people who remember him. So we have to do everything we can to keep Miles, because he really is once-in-a-generation talent. Thank you.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com. Lance, I don't know the name of the talent evaluator that I would bring in to draft. It wouldn't be John Dorsey. I'm not as down on Andrew Berry's draft as I know a lot of fans are. I will say the Jedrick Wills draft pick was a huge miss. It's interesting. You can't. I don't think at this point in time you can shift to somebody to come in and do the draft unless you're completely overhauling the entire organization. And if you do that, I think Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio, and a lot of those veterans aren't going to want to be here because that means full-bore rebuild.
Well, for me, when this is an interesting question as the Browns move forward because they've struggled. And the first thing it tells me is you can see, and we've all been a part of it as football coaches, what losing does, right? Everybody is judging and questioning everything that everybody does, and that's normal when you lose, especially when you have expectations. That's what makes this year so hard is the expectations coming into the season with the idea that they might have the first pick in the draft if some things pan out this week. That's kind of a crazy thing. I'd never really heard of that. A team that had Super Bowl expectations and then, now has the first pick in the draft. For me, I think it's important that they get some consulting in terms of, we've made these mistakes. Maybe reach out and ask some people. I think it's got to be these people. I think it's got to be Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry. But I would lean more on Kevin Stefanski. I would lean more on what he wants and within his offense and within his structure and within his culture. It seems like there's a disconnect in terms of what they're picking and what Kevin Stefanski needs or what they're getting for in free agency. So for me, I would lean more on Kevin Stefanski. If you're going to have Kevin Stefanski as your coach, it hasn't worked the other way. So maybe you lean on him a little bit to get what he wants from his offense and, and from his team as a whole.
Yeah. And so just as a point of reference, and I get the people that are looking at the drafts that Andrew Berry has had and looking at it and saying, tell me who he has drafted. I understand that. If you want to go down that road, if Jimmy Haslam decides to go down that road, and I'm not saying firing Andrew Berry, what I would do is I would hire a vice president of football operations who both Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski would report to, and that guy would then report to Haslam. Right now they both report directly to Haslam. But I would make it a football guy, and that's the way so he's getting input from Berry on the personnel side, from Stefanski on that, and kind of directing the way things go.
Well, that's a very interesting thought. For me, it's there's too many hats in the game of football, right? There's too many decision makers. There's too many people in the kitchen, right? So where the Browns are at right now, they still have a talented roster at so many positions. So I would leave that. I wouldn't want somebody else having to go through Kevin Stefanski. I would want Kevin Stefanski. If you're gonna change up coordinators or whatever they're planning on doing, and some things are gonna happen after the season. If you're gonna put all the pressure on Kevin Stefanski, then allow him to go out with his guys. Allow him to go out with people he wants. That would be my thought. The idea of having a third party is never bad though, because that party is usually a non-emotional or a non-temperament. But they need. Just like in every line of football, you need football people. You need people who love to watch film. You need people who just like the game of football and understand what they're watching and why they like the players that they like. As I watch this stuff, there's too many things, and I understand there's a certain size and speed, but there's too much on the guardrails that we hear all the time. Go find some football players. The Browns need football players.